All right, so Jeran has called me a big fat dirty liar, and this video will be my sincere apology so that I may once again be in his good graces. So for those that haven't been paying attention, back in the middle of April, Jeran organised to go down to San Diego, and on both the 15th and 16th of April, he'd found a position on the beach where the sun should set behind San Clemente Island. Now, we're just going to ignore the fact that this whole thing was planned using predictions made by the globe model for the azimuth to the sun, the direction of the island, and the time of sunset, but we'll just let that massive hypocrisy slide, just for the purposes of this video. Anyway, let's also not forget that the sun can never set on a flat Earth. Anyway, so that first night on the beach in San Diego, they saw diddly squat. So here's the sun overlaid, and here is a scaled render for what this should look like on a flat Earth. And that terrain in the middle there is around 1,700 feet, and they saw nothing. So for the second night, they decided to get up quite a lot higher. So they went to a place called Sunset Cliffs, where Google Earth gives an elevation of about 80 feet. So, same as before, we're going to make a prediction for what you should see on a flat Earth, and I've borrowed the same image of the sun from the first night. I don't actually know if they caught the sunset on the second night, but here's what they should have seen, which is about 800 feet of the north end of the island. But the big news is that after sunset, Jeran started panning across to the left with his infrared P900, and guess what he saw?
That was clear.
Holy shit.
Oh man.
There it is. Look, is that the, so that is there a radio tower or something on the?
Yeah, dude, I saw that too.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god.
All right, so now that should catch everyone up. After that observation, I made a collab video with Ole D, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name until I hear him say it. But anyway, Ole and Science It Out, which is Bartek, and I'll link that video in the chat. My bit of that video is at the end, where I analysed the footage and came up with around 130 feet of the very highest part of the island was visible, and around 1,830 feet was hidden below the horizon. And Jeran was not happy. You can pause it here if you want to read it, but he called me a liar, said he could see the entire island, all the way down to basically the shoreline, blah, blah, blah. So my response was basically to fuck off. And again, you can pause it here if you want to read it. But I warned him before he went live that he was going to shit the bed and there's no chance of an apology video. But he went live anyway, and the stream was pretty hilarious. He spent the best part of an hour trying to line up the footage of the top 130 feet or so with a render of the entire island. And he's sitting there wondering why he can't get all these terrain features to line up. It was hilarious. And then I swear to God, he spent another hour just reading out some book that Leonardo da Vinci wrote like 500 years ago about perspective. Anyway, Jeran made that stream members only pretty much straight after it ended, but I did manage to record it anyway if someone wants to see it. But let's get to the main event, and that is showing that his field of view was nowhere near wide enough for it to be the entire island. So here's a Google Earth screenshot of San Clemente Island from Point Loma, and those two lines are just azimuths to the edges of the island as viewed on that second night from Point Loma. And as you can see, it's about 11 degrees wide, which I told him in the chat before he went live. But the big question is, what was his actual field of view? And this is where Jeran actually needs to be applauded, and where my apology comes in. I didn't actually think Jeran was prepared enough to take any still shots of what he saw that night. But he did, and I am sorry that I doubted him. For those of you that are wondering why still shots are better than video in this instance, It's because a still shot records the actual focal length of the camera at the time of the photo. And Jeran was quite honest and transparent enough to post a video taken with an iPhone where someone is taking still shots on the P900. And here's that video.
But I'm above the, whatever the green
Oh,
light.
there it is. Right there. There it is. There it is.
Got it. Look at.
There you go.
Oh shit! Come on.
Oh.
Holy shit! Give me a picture. You son of a bitch! Give me the picture.
Oh, nice.
There it is.
There it is, right
so I
there.
can record. No.
So there you go. There are actual photos on Jeran's camera which have the focal length in the EXIF data. And I have no doubt whatsoever that Jeran will publish these and make them available for analysis. But until he does, I'm going to have a crack at analyzing it myself. Right, so you can see on the screen there that the focal length is a couple of ticks past full optical zoom and into the blue digital zoom part. So take note of how far that is into the blue, which is what I tried to replicate with my P900, and I'm pretty sure I nailed it. And in the EXIF data for that photo, the optical focal length is the full 2000 millimeters of the P900, and then multiplied by the digital zoom of 1.6, we end up with a 35 millimeter focal length of 3200 millimeters. And if people are curious about how to go about converting a 35 millimeter equivalent focal length into a horizontal and vertical field of view in degrees, then all the math is on the screen. And I can't be asked going through it and making this video any longer than it already is. So feel free to pause again if you want to. But basically a 3200 millimeter focal length for that photo gives you a horizontal field of view of about 0.62 degrees and a vertical field of view of 0.4648 degrees. But one thing you also have to take into account is that while the P900 usually takes images in 4:3 aspect ratio, the video is usually in 16:9. At least that's the current setup in my P900. So to go from the 4:3 aspect ratio photos down to 16:9 for video, it actually changes the image to 5/6 of the original width and 5/8 of the original height. And if you multiply out all those fractions, you end up with 16:9, but only taking up about half the area of the still shots. So when we analyze a screenshot from a P900 video with 1.6 times digital zoom, it's only about half a degree wide and about a third of a degree high. So if I were to stick a little green line in here and then scale it against the angular height of the screenshot, then I can get an angular size for the visible part of the island. Now I'm doing this in Microsoft PowerPoint, so my measurements are going to be in centimeters, and that little green line is 1.2 centimeters, and the height of the slide is 19.05 centimeters. You can scale it against your own screenshot if you like. But if we apply a very simple scaling formula here, we get a visible angular size of 0.0183 degrees. But what do we do with that value? Obviously, we want to convert that into an actual height in feet, so we plug it into an angular size calculator. The angle it worked out was 0.0183 degrees, and the distance to San Clemente from Point Loma was 70.5 miles, or 372,000 feet. And when we click calculate, guess what we get? About 120 feet. Well, there's my apology video, Jeran. I'm not sure it's what you were expecting. But like I said, you're only seeing in the order of 120 feet of San Clemente. And I have no doubt that if all the people that watch this video ask Jeran very nicely, he would happily publish these photos that are on his P900, along with the EXIF data for everyone to analyze. Maybe you could also ask him if I'm getting an apology for being called a liar. Bye.